Morning, everybody, and welcome to the hashtag Grow Your Life weekday morning wake-up call. Today, what I want to talk to you about is what are you focusing on, and is what you're focusing on distracting you from your goals, from where you're wanting to go, and from where you are called to go. So often, we have a lot of stuff that can come into our life, a lot of stuff we can focus on, things throughout the day, even, meetings, appointments with people, stuff that needs to be done, and it can distract us from where we're going. And I don't mean this by just our actions, but more mentally and our emotions. And so what I've found that really works for me is taking 5 to 10 seconds, taking a step back and saying, okay, I'm focusing on how this feels right now. I'm focusing on what I can't do, what this is distracting me from. And I'm not keeping my eye towards where I'm called to go, where I'm going, what I was destined to. I'm focusing on what I can and can't do and less on what will get the result to happen. I'm focusing on everything else that is keeping me held back and what I am claiming I can't control. And so in this, we lose our focus. Now, I'm not talking about, are you watching too much TV? Are you listening to too much music? Are you listening to the wrong voices? I've talked about that in other episodes. What I'm talking about now is a deeper level that goes deeper into how we live our lives and our subconscious. So subconsciously, what we are focusing on in the background of our mind can be distracting us from where we're going. We're worried about certain things. We're worried about not being able to do something, and it's keeping us from going after what we're called to do because we're so focused on what we can't do, where we can't go, what we can't do, and we're focused so much on the can'ts and the inability that we're losing sight of where we're called to go and where we're destined to go. And I say that from experience because I've done that for a very long time in my life. And looking at, man, I can't do this, I can't do that, when right in front of me, sitting right in front of me is the path directly to where God called me to go, what he implanted inside of me, what he put inside of me from the day that I was born to go do. But I was letting all the should do's and could do's of life distract me subconsciously from that. And I wasn't staying aligned and centered to what my purpose is, what my calling is, what I was made for, what I was called to do. And instead I was letting all the feelings distract me from where I know that I was supposed to go. This isn't about guilt. This isn't about shame. This isn't about feeling like I'm not doing enough or inadequate either. I'm not talking about that at all, because that feeling itself can also be a distraction, and it's a comfort zone to feel inadequate. It's a comfort zone to feel like you're just constantly trying to do enough and never accomplishing enough. What you have to do is get focused and clear on where you're going, where you're headed, the path towards your destiny and your calling. A single focus towards that. And everything else overflows out of that place. It's not that you're pushing it all aside. You're pushing it all aside and wading through this muck, because I know what that feels like as well. But what you're doing is you're so focused on a higher goal, a higher calling, what you were made for, your identity, your beliefs, the declarations that you say about yourself, that you can't focus on what's going wrong, that you're no longer focused on what you can't control, that you're no longer focused on what's distracting you and holding you back. What they did to you, what they said to you, what that felt like, what that meme on social media said, what that news person said, what the president is doing, who cares? Okay? And to be honest, I do care. I watch that stuff. I watch social media. I engage with that stuff to stay informed. But what I have to do is I have to not let it then come in and wrap itself around my destiny and around my goals for the day and then distract me for an hour or two and go down a bunny trail. I'm speaking completely from experience here, guys. I'm literally describing to you every single headache and self-doubt and unbelief that I have is usually tied to focusing on something that is pulling me back from where I'm going as a distraction. I really don't believe in setting up rules and laws of saying, well, now I can't watch Netflix. I can't read the news. I can't do this. I can't. Because then I'm like never going to be good enough to all that. And then I'm focused on what I can't do. That's the same exact horse with a different skin on. Setting up rules like that for your life. It's about being self-disciplined, not motivated, but self-disciplined of where you're going and choosing with focus, not because of how it feels, not because of what they told you should do or shouldn't do, but rather focusing on identity, calling, the baseline of what you were created for, what you were made for, and going after it with that purpose in mind of, I'm not going to let anything get in the way of what God called me to do. I'm not going to let what they said to me or a mistake I made. Here's the other thing. Let's say you made a mistake. You said the wrong thing in a conversation, and now you're mulling it over in your head, and you're like, man, I should have said that this way. And you're starting to feel guilt and shame and fear. And then that comes in, and it starts to cripple you from going after where you're called to go. And you're allowing your own inner thoughts, the inner dialogue of what you're no longer good enough, quote unquote, to this standard. Here's the deal. None of us are ever really going to be good enough. The only person that was perfect, they nailed him to a cross. So you can't get to that level. That's why I believe in him. But for the rest of us, if we have goals in our lives, we're going after something, we're allowing distractions telling us that what we should and shouldn't do, we cannot do. And we're so focused on things outside of our control. It's a subconscious focus, and it's usually not easily identifiable. It's that feeling of you're not going after where you know you want to go, and it's something that's holding you back, but it's subconscious and you might have a hard time identifying it. So you might need to look at that and then realize this feeling is actually creating a chemical response inside of me that makes me feel good by focusing on this thing that's then distracting me from where I'm wanting to go, because going where I'm called to go is painful and hard to wrap my brain around. So it feels comfortable to stay in this place of distraction, okay? And it keeps us so focused on what we can't do that we stay held back. We stay behind, and we stay in this little box of comfort that feels good, that coddles us, that holds us, and makes us feel safe and comfortable because we're so focused on that stuff that's distracting us. And so I just want to encourage you today, whatever that is that's distracting you, if you're logging in late at the end of this video, you're going to miss the whole context at the beginning of this. Whatever is distracting, go back and watch the beginning when I re-upload it. Whatever is distracting you from your focus of where you're called to go, your identity, the truth about who you are, who God made you to be, God's plan for your life, what you were made for, and it's pulling your focus aside, your mental focus, not just your eye focus, your thought focus aside from what you were created for. Whatever that is, start to identify individually what those are and eliminate those distractions from your mental focus. I'm not talking about eliminating physically entirely, because that's not always possible, but mentally, not allowing it to impact and distract you from that place, and have a focus towards the things that you were called to do, the things of heaven, and go after it with all that is inside of you. And if you do this repeatedly, methodically, systematically, you'll see changes in your life that will transform you from the inside out. And I'm not saying that this is what transforms you, But what I'm saying is that the action and the focus of taking your focus off of what is distracting you will change the decisions and the actions you make, and then it will start to snowball effect and produce a different result of what you've been getting so far in your life if you do this. So make a focus on where you're going, what you're called to do, what you were destined for, not the other outside noise and the weeds that are growing in your heads that are not serving you for your destiny, and start walking out the truth about your life, about your identity, who you are, what you were made for, where you're called to go. If you do that, and then you make a lifestyle of this consistently, your life will be transformed. Have a good one, everybody. We'll talk soon.